It's mid-April here, and I'm realizing it's been a while since I made a video at all, let alone giving an update on all the myriad projects we've got going on. So I thought I would take a minute and bring folks up to speed with the current snapshot of where we are in early spring, and part of the reason why it's been such a while since we were able to make a video. So stick around. The number one reason we haven't had time at all to make videos is we've been so busy shipping bare root plants, trying to get every plant to all the folks that ordered. Thank you to all of you who've made orders and are interested in the work we do. I hope the plants grow so beautifully for you. We just finished wrapping up with that. You can see these plants that are laying sideways so here's some honey locust, for example, and here are some mulberries and some other trees. They're all healed into the soil, and now that they've been dug up and sent, the leftover plants, so to speak, are now going into the next phase, which is for local sales of doing a ton of potting up. And you can see the yard is now basically a production line of potting up these plants. I talk about in another video the idea of potted polyculture and how that works really nicely for us. So you can check that out. Let me pause and get a better microphone. Okay, hopefully that's better and we get less wind. Anyway, been potting up all these plants. Right here you can see the Yasta berry sitting and dripping, and we've got some sunchokes, some air prune beds, which I'll be making a video soon enough talking about how these are all functioning. And then just a whole medley, all sorts of black currants. There's skirret potted up. I was talking recently about doing those divisions, and so we were able to pot some up. And you get the idea. We're basically going to fill anywhere that there is space in our garden with these potted plants, so we're ready for some local sales. So that's one of the bigger, exciting moments that's happening right now. But we're also trying to get caught up with the spring planting. With all the shipping and all that work, it set us pretty far behind in being able to start our annual seeds and get tree seeds down, so that's what we're scrambling to do now. You can see Sasha's working on getting some transplants of various lettuces in. She's planted fava beans down the middle of this bed. We'll probably do a more thorough discussion of some of the plantings that she's doing this year. She'll do the lead on that. And what I'm trying to work on is evolve the design of starting our trees from seed in the context of our garden, and design it in such a way where the perennial nursery work can also collaborate with our annual work. And so what that means, for example, is this long bed here. You can see it's maybe 5 feet wide, 4 or 5 feet wide, and the middle has 2 furrows, and in this case I've prepped the soil and seeded this all out to a running serviceberry seed. And so those will come up, and we'll let those germinate first and make sure they're doing well. And then all of this space on either side of the bed that has easier access will be designated for annual food crops, so we can either transplant in or sow. It's a similar idea. This whole bed has mulberries through the middle, and we'll be able to do lettuces and spinaches and other plants on the edges. This one has quince focused in the middle, 2 rows of it, and again, room for beans or somebody else on the edge. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that evolves, the deeper collaboration between the perennial plant nursery and our annual food production. I just set in motion the last few days this berm to be 10 different varieties of cultivar willows. You can see there's 2 of each. Bop, 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 bop. And we'll make permanent aluminum tags for those. And so this will be one of our permanent plantings for the willow collection that we're starting to now develop. We've got the little well online. I talk about that in another video, so you can check that out if you're interested. That's working nicely. I keep draining that down to nothing, and then a half day later it's full again. So now we have water in the garden that's easy for us to work with a solar pump. Got potato onions coming up like crazy. We planted out a whole lot of them this year, and we're hoping to offer them through the nursery at some point. These are grown from seed. They're multiplier perennial onion, storage onions. And we're also hoping Miyoga ginger will come back. We've got some undercover and some that was exposed to the winter next to a little seaberry here. And we'll see if those come back. Hoping to offer those up as well. They seem promising so far. You can see in our Zone 5, mid-central New York, very few things are really waking up in earnest just yet. Still very early in the spring for us. Some of the currants are really getting ready to wake up. These look like they'll put on a strong crop this year. They've got a huge flower set. These are Glorie de Sablon, which is a pink French currant. And our seaberry collection is starting to expand as well. We're hoping to offer these at some point. But these just went in last spring. They're leafing out beautifully. In some places, the seaberries are actually starting to sucker, which we really encourage. In fact, let me take a look at that. 2 winters ago, I took cuttings of a female seaberry. This one's called Orange Energy, and was able to get a few to root and planted them out in this space, and they did really nicely. They're now at production age, so hopefully we'll get some males to pollinate them soon enough. And they're doing really well. At some point we'll move these to the main Edible Acres site and put them into production. 1 or 2 suckered a little bit, but not very much. But interestingly, from this patch, I planted at the same time this one over here. It's the same age, Orange Energy, but the following spring after planting it, I dug up a whole bunch of Nanking cherry seedlings from around it, and I think that root disturbance triggered a really intense suckering response. And so now all of these shoots that are sticking up here are all from this mother plant. And so I'm going to start digging them up a little bit here or there, stooling them with soil. And I think I may have found a way to be able to propagate these by doing a little bit of root wounding on a planting bed. In other words, plunge a shovel in or a hoary or some light disturbance down in the earth and see if that doesn't help trigger them to send up rooted shoots. So these I could actually dig around and take some of that section of root and pot these up, and they should be viable as clones. It's kind of neat to figure out how seaberry is willing to propagate just by accidentally digging around them. The nettle patch is waking up like crazy. There's enough here that Sasha can start harvesting to cook with them. So we've been eating them a little bit, letting them get going here. Even with all the orders this winter of folks who wanted nettles, we still have such a huge patch here. In fact, you can see where we chewed into the patch here or there, especially on the west side. Basically from that rock west, we dug out nettles to send to folks. So the heart of the colony, the mother colony, is still really strong. We're really excited to hopefully make the time to dig these up and put them into another spot. But this black currant right here and this black currant over here, which are so vigorous and leafing out so early, they're seedlings. And it's pretty interesting to see both blackcurrant and elderberry, because I think our site is just so darn wet, that fruit that we miss often is now coming up as chance seedlings or weed seedlings, so to speak. And so we have this opportunity to start growing currants and elder from seed by just digging them out of gardens or leaving them, and learn about these new varieties. We can call them whatever we want. We have absolutely never any intention of patenting them. It's just fun to have new genetics rather than cloning. It's nice to lean into the reality of having a wet site and the site showing you what it's willing to do. In fact, this blackcurrant, which we planted 3 years ago, we take a lot of cuttings from it each year. Last year it made an absolute carpet of babies under it, so I dug them out and moved them into some rows next to it. And so these are all seedlings from that mother plant. It's going to be exciting to see what the fruit tastes like. Maybe they'll be exactly like the mother, or maybe they'll be completely new, novel varieties. We'll have to see. Speaking of plants seeding in and naturalizing, here's Good King Henry, or Chinopodium bonus henricus. Maybe there's another new Latin name for it, but that's what I know it. It's a perennial spinach, really beautiful, deep taprooted, long-lived perennial vegetable. And for the longest time I had real difficulty growing these from seed. I just could not crack the code. They wouldn't germinate, or it'd be sluggish, or what have you. So last year these mother plants, you can see from the chaff around them, simply never, once we finished harvesting, we let them grow for the rest of the season. They flowered, and then we got out of the way and let the seeds fall where they may, so to speak. And what's nice about that is now in the early spring, I'm seeing absolute carpets. These are all little babies of Good King Henry coming up like mad. And rather than futzing around with collecting all the seed and drying it and then cold stratifying and scarifying and all the things, we just let it fall. And now there's carpets of seedlings that at some point sooner than later we'll need to go through and dig them up and find other homes for them. But just really nice to see that it's a real permaculture principle of kind of observe and interact. Sometimes just get out of the way. There's even more. Hundreds and hundreds of Good King Henry seedlings for us to tease out and figure out what to do with. And in fact, that one looks like it's bolting already, and we're not even to May, so that's a little spooky. The ponds are just starting to wake up with lovely life, frogs bopping here and there. We're hoping some of the water lotus and arrowroot and calamus that were planted last year perk up and do well. We'd like to have more aquatics growing here. But I'm realizing overall there's just so many different aspects to this garden, it's a little overwhelming to try to pack them all into an update video. So I'm gonna wrap it up here, and maybe in the comments give us a heads up. What are folks really interested in seeing? We can do a video about our high tunnels and greenhouses and how those are evolving. Can talk more about the perennial plant propagation. Are there certain key areas, the aquatic stuff or the grafting that we're starting to do, certain areas that people are really intrigued by? We'd be happy to do some more focused videos rather than these kind of glossy overviews. But thank you for being patient in waiting for updates. It's been a little while, and I think we'll also still be pretty darn busy. I'm not sure when the next video will come. But thank you for being part of this channel. Thank you for all of the orders. It's really been stupendous how much interest there's been this winter. And hopefully we can keep up with it all. But for now, thanks for watching. Hope you all are having a great spring. Share what you've been up to.